Welcome to Studio 125. I'm your host, J.R King. This is your local artist highlight. I'm sitting here with an Augusta native, founder and CEO, Uprise Events and Entertainment. He's a writer, performer, father, husband. Brother Trav, also known as the GodBrotha.
Yes, sir.
How you doing today, brother?
Lovely.
First of all, thank you for coming to sit with us.
Yes, indeed. Pleasure is all mine.
Okay, we're going to jump right into it. My first one would be, I want you to start back of your first start of performing in Augusta. The stories that I hear is how you took Augusta under your wing with the creative scene, and you helped shape and mold what we have today. Can you take us back there?
Yeah, I can take you back there, which is also going to require me to kind of give you a little bit of background. And so back in the mid-'90s, I was living in the Washington, D.C. area. Okay. I was there with a job that had transferred me up to that area to do a supervisory job. You know, it was a promotion and got a little cost of living increase and everything. So country boy moved up to the big city. Right. And so, you know, I'm doing pretty good there. I'm getting acclimated to the scene and everything, and I'm getting exposed to the culture, you know, being in D.C. Right. You know, it's Chocolate City. Chocolate City, and, you know, you got Howard University there, and, you know, you got all these black bookstores and gift shops and, you know, different certain sections of town where, you know, there would be poets, there would be, you know, people maybe even on the sidewalk with drums and percussions and things like that. It was just so much culture that I was able to take in that I had not been exposed to, you know, living in the South. Well, kind of long story short, I got terminated from that job unexpectedly, without, you know, without anybody saying why. No whys. Yes, no explanation. So I was very hurt. I was upset. I was disappointed. I was mad. I was sad. I was afraid because I was also, you know, getting ready to start a family, you know, at that time. And so I'm in a place where the rent is, you know, $1,100 a month in the mid-'90s. Wow. So without a job, how can we continue to swing this? So I was faced with the reality of moving back home. Which, you know, I moved back home to Augusta and everything, and there was no scene. Well, first, the termination, the job termination, it's what led me to writing my first poem. So I was so frustrated and disappointed. I got on the subway. I was afraid to go home. You know, to go back home. I mean, they fired me at the beginning of the day. I'm expected not to be home until 5 or, you know, 6.
Go back home and face the wife.
Yeah, and I got to go back home. Right, exactly. And so I just kind of just kept riding the train back and forth. And, you know that you ever been so furious that you felt like you could harm an innocent person?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I kind of had that feeling going on the inside of me. But I also had a notebook and a pen and a pad, you know?
Luckily.
And and my backpack, you know? And I just started writing. And all that stuff that was on the inside of me, it was able to come out, but it was able to come out in a constructive way. That first piece that I wrote was called King of the Hill.
King of the Hill?
King of the Hill.
Okay.
And it was about, you know, like, who needs your cup of tea? Who needs your job? Anyway, you know, It was called King of the Hill, and it was about me becoming a business owner at that time. It was like I kind of saw it at that time. Like, no, you know what? This ain't it. This corporate thing ain't it. You know what I'm saying? I continue to work corporate jobs. But to answer your question, so move back down south. Okay. It's maybe 97-ish right about now. There's no poetry going on. There's no... My man Shama is downtown at Rebel Lion. His shop's there. You know, it might be 2,000 right about now. And Shama and I go way back. to our high school days.
Okay.
And you know, I would go down and check them out all the time and everything. And Shama goes, you know, why don't we move the racks out the way, and if you can bring some chairs in here, we could do a little spoken word show.
Right.
Okay. You know, I went to the church. I borrowed like 40 chairs. You've been in Rebel Lion Den, right?
Yes.
Real narrow, like really, you know, closed space. So I got like 40 chairs. We unloaded them, moved those racks to the side. I had African drummers. I served like fruits and muffins and stuff like this, bottled waters and juices and things. And, you know, this is before the internet, so we made flyers on black and white paper, you know, and just kind of hit the city with it, you know, like boom, 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 hand to hand. Right. Well, that first event, it turned out to be standing room only. It was so many people there that we had to like leave the door to the Rebel Lion Den open, and people was on the sidewalk. You know, we had to bring a speaker outside so they could at least hear what was going on.
That had to be awesome.
And then we knew we had something. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, okay, well, all right, this can work. But, you know, I wasn't the star of the show because it was an open mic thing, and poets came and they did their thing, and it was awesome. And that's how it started. It went from there. And I was never the star of the show. I was just a host that introduced other artists in the city and gave them a platform. Mm-hmm. And that's where it started.
That's another one of my questions. Doing a little research on you, that's actually your approach for the first couple of years here in Augusta. First. You promoted a lot, but you would never put yourself on a flyer. You would never put yourself as the headlining act. Can you explain why?
I would say more than the first couple of years, the first decade or more, you know. Mm-hmm. Because I always felt like it was about everybody else. You know, it was about everybody else. And I always kind of saw other artists as really talented. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, you know, these local artists are talented. Like, they need a platform and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so it was me being unselfish, perhaps. All right. Me also maybe being not as confident, possibly. You know, comparing myself to, you know, we get to comparing.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, get this is 25 years ago, so my skill has honed since then, you know, right. So I'm just kind of like starting out. And so maybe it was you know, not as confident. Maybe even what we call good old humility, being humble, right?
Being humble.
We're taught to be humble. And so for me to make a show, to create a show, and then put my own face on the flyer and make me the feature act of my own show that I'm promoting, made me maybe say, well, I'm not being so humble doing that.
Right.
Yeah, so I always kind of tried to fall back. It wasn't until later, like much later, when I rolled into 2013, when I had this aortic dissection. Right. I suffered this health crisis that could have taken me out. Mm-hmm. And I had a lot of time to sit and listen, you know, to God, talk to me.
Right.
And he let me know that it was okay. In fact, he let me know that it was crucial.
Yes.
Because tomorrow's not promised. And I gave you a gift.
Gave you the gift.
Right. That people need to hear what you have to say. And it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah. And so once I came into that, then, you know, it wasn't no stopping Brother Trav at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, the GodBrotha started to evolve.
Okay. I'm glad you brought up a traumatic event that happened to you, because I listened to your poem, Dear God.
Dear God, sincerely.
Sincerely. And you spoke about that inside that poem. So that leads into my next question. Earlier you spoke of you was able to take getting fired from your job and use that and turn that into your first poem, right? So my question would be, if you're taking your traumatic experiences and you're putting them into your art, so years later, maybe a year later, now you have to perform this. Does it bring those feelings back up, and do you have to relive these events on the stage?
Okay, good question. The Dear God Sincerely piece is probably the one that I can speak about.
Okay.
After I wrote the piece was when I was I was kind of like in a recovery stage. I was coming out of the storm.
Okay.
And I was still emotionally connected to it, the story. And I kind of created the poem as a story to be able to share with people, to be able to share with them what happened. You know what I'm saying? Because there was a lot of, people who knew me at the time. It was a big deal. 2013, April 7th, 2013, it was just a big deal. Because nobody knew if I was going to make it. All they knew was there was, social media, which I already, had pretty good following by then. And, La put it out there from my page. She's communicating from my Facebook page, saying, I was being airlifted to Emory in Atlanta for emergency surgery. And, the surgery was 8.5 hours, followed by other subsequent surgical procedures and stuff like that. So, I was not even conscious for the first 3 or 4 days. So, that part, you know what I'm saying? And so there was a whole lot of buzz going around the city. People, Brother Trav had a heart attack. Brother Trav died. Brother Trav, he suffered this or that, but none of it was really accurate, So I was like, how do I tell people what happened? And so I created that piece, and then used the piece purposefully in putting a PSA on the end of the video, talking to brothers,
right?
Talking to brothers specifically, like, hey, I know how we do, you know what I'm saying? I'm not separate from the crew, you know what I'm saying? Right. I know how we party. I know how we get it on. I know how we value our cars more than our bodies, right?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
That's one of your lines out of Power.
Out of Power, right? So, I wanted to use that as a platform, but to answer your question, I would perform that piece initially and I would get choked up every time. To where I almost couldn't make it through, or I was snotting and everything, trying to make it through. But as time went on, I can perform the piece and I can talk about it. I used to choke up just having conversation about it. What you and I are doing now, I'd be boohoo crying. And it's because, you know why? The physical pain was more recent.
Right.
The physical pain was, my memory of the physical pain was more recent. You know what I'm saying? So I would cry talking about it because I would start feeling the pain over again in my head. Yeah. But as time goes, it becomes a little easier, just like anything to deal with. But I can still get there. You know what I'm saying? I can still get there. It made for magic on the stage.
Yeah, for everyone else, though.
Yeah, it's an experience, because you got someone up there that's really expressing themselves about something that happened to them. Tragic. Yeah. And, sometimes
you can feel it in the audience.
It's a transfer of energy.
You can feel it. I've been in the audience and I listen to someone and you can tell it. You can tell that they really experiencing the pain that they're putting out through the mic. You can feel it through the words.
No different than church.
Yes.
Right?
That's exactly what it
is. It's a transfer of energy. That pastors on that stage, that deacons on that pulpit, whatever, and they're bringing it to you. And then the people, the congregation, they feel full. They feel, fed.
Right.
Which is why they go back.
That's why they go back.
because they get fed.
They got that feel good.
Yeah, and spoken word is it's the spoken word. It's the power of the spoken word.
Wow, that's deep. So the next question will lead us into your creative process. So when you're not using something traumatic to fuel your writing process, what will be your writing process on a normal basis?
Okay, so by now, um, I'm the most strategic that I've ever been when it comes to writing. Very, very strategic. Very rarely am I doing what I kind of refer to as a freestyle poem, like a freestyle piece when I just like, I don't really know what I'm about to write about, pick up the pen and the pad and start writing. That's kind of like freestyle.
Right.
I don't do much or any of that anymore. Usually it's very well calculated. Because a lot of times I'm writing for purposes like, okay, somebody's invited me out to this particular kind of event.
Right.
And I need to create something for that purpose. And so it makes me calculate it because now I got to write about this particular subject. But yeah, part of my process that's probably makes my process unique is most of it happens up here before a pen touches a paper.
Right.
So I may go weeks just thinking about it, just pondering on it, just, even to the point where, okay, certain rhyme schemes are coming to me, certain wordplay might come to me. I might jot something down, you know what I'm saying? But then when I sit down to write it, the process is I typically know the end of the poem before I start the poem.
Right. That's the second time I've heard that. Dave Chappelle said he does that.
With his comedy.
With his comedy, he would write the punchline and then write the rest of the comedy to match.
I heard that. And I got it when he said it.
Yeah, it's dope.
Yeah, because it gives you a destination. See, I'm kind of like, I'm a Virgo. I think Dave might be a Virgo. And so, everything for us has to be kind of like, it got to make sense. Or we can't, it makes us uneasy. Like if we're not really sure or certain, it makes us kind of like unstable. And so me knowing where I want to end up, like I'm not just going, like sometimes my wife might be like, let's just go for a ride.
Yeah.
Her parents do that,
I do that.
Let's just go for a ride.
Yeah.
I can't really work that way. I got to have a destination. Like, okay, now where are we going, babe? Like, you want to go to Charleston? You want to go to Charlotte? You want to go to Savannah? Like, which direction you want to go? Like, where you want to go? So I got to have a destination or it makes me uneasy. So I approach poetry that way, too. Like, I know the end of it before I start.
It's pretty dope. I think I read somewhere that you feel like God writes your poems. You kind of go into autopilot when you're writing. Do you feel that way?
Yeah. With the good stuff.
Good stuff.
And right now, I would be so if allow me to not be humble for a moment, I would say that it's all good stuff right now.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? It's all like I'm in that mode. I'm in that space. I mean, I've been doing it for 25, 27 years. I'm in that space to where that's why I say I'm not doing much freestyle writing because I'm writing with purpose. Like if I'm gonna, I might not create 4 or 5 pieces a week or 4 or 5 pieces a month. Right. You know what I'm saying? But when I do take the time to create a piece, it's going to be like, wow. I'm making myself go, wow. I had to tell La the other day, those poems that I share and then go back and read or go back and listen to, as in awe as you are, I am too. Like I'm getting something out of it as well. I'm listening to it like I'm listening in third person. I was listening to Power driving here, and it's just like, wow.
Yeah.
And that's how I know it's God.
Right. I was actually listening to Power this morning also, which will lead me into the next question. Power is a very powerful piece. And you speak about so many different things, from civil rights to your mental, physical, spiritual health. I can go on and on about the different things that you get into. What was your mindset writing that piece?
Okay. So, I can't remember exactly what sparked it. It's one of my more recent pieces, actually. But and here's another thing that I kind of do, is I try to challenge myself to these different little challenges that maybe nobody might realize what's going on other than me, you know. And the thing here's what led to me, the concept. You've heard the saying, your 5 minutes of fame.
5 minutes of fame.
Or I mean, so somebody might say 15 minutes of fame, right?
Right.
Everybody gets their 15 minutes of fame. Everybody gets their 5 minutes of fame in life, right? So looking at things from that way, what are you going to do with it when you're given it? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because that alone shows you how valuable the 5 minutes is. You know what I'm saying? Like you've been here, 40 years, but you got 5 minutes to say something.
5 minutes.
You got 5 minutes to say something and have an audience that's going to listen to what you got to say. Think about that young lady at the inauguration, Amanda Gorman, the poet.
Right.
She was given that stage in front of the whole world.
In front of the whole world.
Young, bright sister. And she let him have it. In her way.
It was beautiful.
In her way. And so that was her 5 minutes. That was her 5 minutes. That was her 15 minutes or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, make it count. It's a responsibility. The gift comes with a responsibility. You know what I'm saying? Right. And I don't like to I don't like to like call people out or feel like I'm coming from up here and everybody else is down here. I never want to seem like that. You know what I'm saying? But the irresponsibility that brothers are using with their platforms is what needs to change.
I agree 100%.
It's the irresponsibility. It's the having of 5 minutes and using that 5 minutes to say something that's got enough power to help destroy, but no power to build.
Right. And most of the young brothers use their platform for that. That's what sells. And I'm going to be honest that I understand that you got to get your money. I understand that to make it out of your situation, you may need to do things that you normally wouldn't do. And I respect that. But once you make your money, it's a responsibility to give back. And if you had to use words to destroy and tear down, now it's your obligation to build up. It's your obligation to go back to those communities and build up. So I agree 100%.
I like it.
Yeah.
And encourage, because they're leaders with power, right?
Right.
And encourage, and they don't even have to say, hey, do this. Just do this. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Like, they don't have to tell the young up-and-coming rappers, hey, talk about positive stuff. They don't have to say, hey, everybody talk about positive stuff. All they got to do is talk about positive stuff. Because the younger guys are emulating them.
You know, we also got to point the mirror back at us as a community.
Oh, man.
Because are we really going to support the positivity? Because it doesn't sell. You know, so I don't know if you know who J. Cole is, the rapper.
Yes.
J. Cole is very lyrical and he talks about real life stuff. Why isn't he the hottest rapper out there? Because he's not downgrading women. He's not talking about selling drugs. He's not talking about shooting up the club. So he'll never get that number one spot, you know? So we have to look at ourselves and think, if we stop buying the BS, then they'll stop making the BS. But right now, we're promoting it. We're listening to it. We're giving it to our kids. So
you know why? Because we're conditioned. It's conditioning. It's conditioning.
Right.
It has been spoon-fed for the younger people. it's been spoon fed from the womb.
That's
You know what
right.
I'm saying? It's been spoon fed from the womb. The gang culture, the shoot 'em up, bang bang. This is what's cool. Even that whole image. Like, why is that a thing? Why is that in 2022 that it's cool to be a gangbanger, to kill people, to talk about killing people, to glorify killing people, and these people, at the end of the day, look like you?
You said a quote that I saw, and you said, "I feel like I am hip hop." So with that quote right there, do you remember when that changed? When hip hop actually changed that image?
Oh yeah, because I've been a witness to it. Like, you know, I'm 51 years old now. I was born in 1970. You know what I'm saying? And
When was it?
the same way young people, you know, a 5-year-old knows the top songs, right? Right? A 5-year-old knows the top songs.
Right.
At when I was 5, it was 75. So what was on the radio?
It was on the radio in '70. That's Al Green, Marvin Gaye.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
that's that good.
James
That
Browns
James
and
Brown.
stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And so that's my parents' era, right? So I'm their seed. What they put inside of me is naturally what came out. So that's why in that generation of us, you know, on that, you know, in that era of hip hop, what they call the golden era, the music was kind of reflecting the struggle, because that's what our parents were. That was the plight, right? It was,
Right.
you know, and that came out. I just feel like the more and more generations that, just like I was saying earlier about me not feeling the physical pain because the time is elapsing. The more time we go from the 60s, 2022, these young men ain't connecting to that. They don't know about no red, black, and green Ungawa black power. You know what I'm saying? They don't know nothing about that. You know what I'm saying? So it's not being spoon fed to them out the womb the same way the good stuff was spoon fed to us. Now, I see where you're going with it. So when did it change? It began to change when capitalism got involved. Because we didn't own the narrative.
There we go. You're right.
We didn't own it. And so it was more of I watched a Jimi Hendrix documentary the other day, and he ran into that, where he wanted to explore. He's an artist. We're artists, right? We want to create. We don't never want to stay in the same space as artists, because that's what artists do. Like, you know, we got to be free. I got to like move like this. I can't be rigid and be an artist at the same time. But the record companies are going to say, okay, no, we signed you this way. That's the way we need you to continue to be. You can't be branching off Jimi Hendrix. Nobody wants to hear a Jimi Hendrix jazz album. Come on. But he was experimenting with jazz and playing with jazz cats. And he wanted to do that, you know? But the labels were like, no, that's not. Where's the Purple Haze? Give us more of that.
Yeah.
So he started to feel conflicted and stuff like that. So, yeah, anytime capitalism, they get them young artists with a 5-album deal. You grow.
Some of them get caught in the 360 deal, which is even worse.
Artists, human beings evolve over time, right? So you might have been into that culture the way you was living reckless at 21, but now 3 albums later at 32, you're more mature. Hopefully you got a different set of priorities. You've got a different set of responsibilities. So it would seem like a natural progression that their music would change as they age, but it doesn't seem to be the case. And that's because they owe somebody something. And the thing is, T.I., remember, he was kind of like, he got in all that trouble, and then he was kind of ordered to put some positive music out there. That's when he was like kind of like doing the whatever you like and stuff like that. I heard him talk about it, you know. He noticed that his sales was like this. his sales went down. And then when he came back, whatever album it was, like he came back, he did maybe 2 or 3 of those whatever you like type albums, you know what I'm saying? And then he came back and he was talking about being a rubber band man again and stuff like that. Through the charts. Yeah, so.
Right. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it changing when I was, of course, I was born in 84. So when it changed early 90s, I was still legit. Mm-hmm. But I can remember KRS-One and those guys and the messages that they push.
Yeah.
And if that message would have been allowed to continue, then we would have been too powerful. So they had to change the narrative, and that's when NWA and all of those came. And then the gangster rap era, Tupac and all those guys. Mm-hmm. So I remember that shift, and I remember why.
Yeah.
I remember why they did it. So the next question is about being an artist.
Mm-hmm.
Being an artist, but your wife is also an artist.
Yeah.
So that right there has to be great, difficult, challenging sometimes, So my question right there would be, is there ever a time being 2 artists that's married to where someone overshadows the other? And if so, how do you deal with that being a couple that both needing a platform to get out?
Okay. Wow. Excuse me. That's kind of heavy because it's kind of personal. So this is my wife, my current wife, is my second marriage. She's my second wife. So my first wife is the mother of my seeds.
Okay.
And that was one of the huge things, a huge reason as to why she and I are not together now is because she wasn't supportive. She didn't have my back. She wasn't an artist. She wasn't even an arts enthusiast, you know what I'm saying? Right. Just not really, didn't have interest in that kind of thing. And so that was the struggle. You know what I'm saying? That was the struggle is, having you trying to do something that your wife doesn't support you doing, because then that thing becomes the bad guy. So it's like, okay, you're always trying to hang out in the streets. You just want to go party or whatever. No, wife, I'm promoting an event. You know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta be out here. Like, this is what I do. You know what I'm saying? Or you messing up the money in the house or whatever. Or, just not seeing the big picture. Not understanding why I have to dedicate time and energy to doing this thing is because I have a passion for it and I'm not gonna stop doing it.
Right.
And so I'm not gonna say that alone, but that was a major factor of us not being together. Right. So like fast forward, so I get involved with La, and she's her whole person. She got a whole thing. Now we're grown. Like when I first got married, I was in my 20s. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm 40 maybe. 40 something getting married.
Right.
And so and now we're grown, right? Now we're really adults and get to look at things in a different way. And one of the things that drew me to her was that she was her own person. She did have her own style. She did have her own, she stood out from the crowd. She stood out from the crowd. And she was also into art. She was also, we started out not in a romantic relationship. We started out kind of like hanging out, going downtown Augusta to the bar, shooting pool, seeing a band. She liked live entertainment as much as I liked live entertainment. We just enjoyed each other because we had that in common. And so I felt like, and still feel like that's a part of the glue that holds us together is our love for art and live entertainment.
Right.
That's a part of us. That's the bond. Now, when it comes to your question, did anybody overshadow anybody? So all these years, it's been Brother Trav.
Right.
Brother Trav and Sister Law. not sister-in-law and Brother Trav. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
And so she's been the one that's been propping me like this. And so now, not to expose too much, because as public as we are, we still are very private. You know what I'm saying? As public as we are, you know, people see the selfies, the pictures, the ussies,
The ussies.
us being on stage together, whatever. Like, that's what we put out there for you to see. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, we still have our things and our moments and stuff like that. And one of those real places that my wife is at right now is she wants people to see her. She wants people to see that, you know, I'm more than just Brother Trav's wife. Sister Brother Trav, you know what I'm saying? And now it's my turn to be able to support her. Right. And to be able to help push her up and say, hey, my wife is thebomb.com. She's got all these talent and skills and stuff. Like, you see her pushing her podcast and things like that, and having success and flying and doing things in the community with the women and the sisters and stuff like that. Like, she doesn't have to, her identity doesn't have to come through Brother Trav. And I get it. You know what I'm saying? I get it. But we're still a couple. You know what I'm saying? And not only are we a couple, but we're business partners. We're business partners. And so whether they see me or not, I'm still back there somewhere. You know, I'm still, whether they see, like here today, whether La's here at this studio or not, just know that she's with me and she's playing a part, you know what I'm saying, without being here. Even all the way down to making sure I had the hot tea because my voice was raspy before I left the house. You see what I'm saying?
That's right.
And so I think that's just got to be the approach, is that you're working together. This is not a tug of war. One of the biggest things about marriage is, I've heard this before, that marriage is a constant tug of war.
I feel like it's a constant compromise.
I would like that as well.
Yeah.
But I have heard before that it's a constant tug of war. And when you got a tug of war, you're steady fighting for who's got the power. Mm-hmm. I got the power. No, I got the power. I got to relinquish power. I got to you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It shouldn't be like that. So I don't feel like that's a thing that's going to cause detriment to our marriage or relationship. If anything, it'll cause us to rise even higher, because I recognize what she has expressed.
Yeah.
I recognize her expression in that. Is like, yeah, I get it. Because when I met her, she was her own person. She was her own person, you know?
Right.
And we've been married 8 years, going on 9. Right. You know what I'm saying? So we married less than 10 years of our long lives. So she had a lot of time where she was not connected to me.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I can understand that. And that's a lot of respect. A lot of people don't ever look at that side of relationships. It is a constant tug of war, like you said, but compromise is kind of where it is. You know, constant communication, understanding, and just willing to understand the other person's point of view.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we get in our own way and just don't allow ourselves to look at our spouse's perspective. But it's beautiful to see that you guys have that figured out.
We're figuring it out.
Well, from the outside looking in, it look like y'all got it down packed.
Yeah, and that's the myth buster. You know, I want to be like a myth buster, and that's why I said that. That's why I said, you know, what we put out there for y'all to see is what we put out there for y'all to see. Right. You see what I'm saying? But shoot, man, we're human like everybody else. Just like with me being an artist or a performer or a writer or anything else, like, I never want to seem like I'm above people.
That's important.
I always want to seem like I'm just like you.
We are one.
Like, that's why I'm successful. You see? Mm-hmm. Because I'm just like you. I feel like people understand. That's the name is Brother Trav, because I want you to recognize that I'm your brother. It gives me an opportunity when you say, "What up, Brother Trav?" and I say, "What up, brother?"
That's right.
Peace, brother. It gives me an opportunity to bounce that back to you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The Brotha Trav was intentional.
Okay. That's the area you grew up in. I mean, that's how they spoke. That's how they walked. That's how they treated each other.
We called Brother Sharma, Brother Joseph, Sister Selah, like we all called each other, and that was here in Augusta, Georgia.
Yeah.
And we all called each other brother and sister. It wasn't really a moniker, but that's what I was known as.
That's right. That right there is a good segue right back to where I want to go. Right back to the poem Power.
Okay.
We're going to get right back into it. It's off the album Black Love Revolution. And the anniversary of that is coming up. It dropped February 14th, 2015.
Mm-hmm.
So the anniversary of that is coming up. So we want to talk about that album, that song Power. So in that we talk about the civil rights. So we'll start there. You have the Marcus Garvey jacket on.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to like show this off today. I'm displaying this today while still supporting black business.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. That right there is actually my favorite person in history.
Oh yeah.
Marcus Garvey is so powerful to me.
One of my favorites.
He's my favorite hands down. Without Marcus Garvey, or without Booker T, it wouldn't be Marcus Garvey. Without Marcus Garvey, you wouldn't have Malcolm X or Martin Luther King. So when I study this guy, he's so amazing how he was able to move, how he was able to manipulate the situation and rise and build an army. He had a literal army. He had ships. He was planning on taking us back home. You know, he had built the game plan.
Import, export.
He was going to be, and the only way they was able to get him out of the power position that he was in was he made a mistake on the postcard, and he put the ship that he didn't own on the postcard, and they got him for mail fraud.
Right.
So other than that, they tried to get him on all kind of stuff, like they broke down X and they put people to infiltrate the system. They weren't able to get him like that. And just seeing how he was able to maneuver without any stains on his reputation.
Mm.
No side chicks, no drugs, no habits, no none of that. He was able to build that. That's why he's my favorite.
Right.
Speak on what that means for you.
He was a visionary. Think about it.
That's right.
Like, it was the blueprint.
Yes.
He created a blueprint. You know?
Right.
And that's why I'm in awe. But it's also why I'm in a constant state of disappointment.
With our people?
With our people.
Yes. Because
we fall short of that. We fall short of King's dream. You know, that's so to get to the power, you know, I want to tie it in, the power piece. That's my 5 minutes. I got 5 minutes. What, you know, it starts off. What would you say if you had a chance to address the entire world in just 5 minutes, you know? And what did Garvey do with his 5 minutes? He made a blueprint. He made a blueprint. Why did it have to stop? The movement never needs to be about the man. Why does it have to end? Like when they shut him down, why didn't we pick up the baton and keep on running with it? You see what I'm saying?
I do.
It's an idea. It's not a person. It's not a business.
It's a sacrifice.
But it's an idea and a set of ideals and the way you live. And so the power piece, it's kind of like a recipe. You listen to it. Listen to it.
Just 5 minutes. I mean, specifically the United States, our brothers and sisters in it. Well, if I was given such a chance, my greeting would simply be peace. Now let's start with love, so that Willie Lynch and that crabs in a barrel mentality must cease. And yeah, I said it because I only have like 5 minutes, so I'm shooting straight, no chaser. I present to you a multitude of motivation written down on paper. Anyway, as I was saying before, we must build on the foundation of love, instead of being divided by differences in religions or whatever else we can think of. Political pretenders pursue personal agendas, and the sheeple line up and choose sides. See, the enemy knows that in order to conquer, he must first divide. My brothers and sisters across the map, if you're tired of losing the fight, let's respect each other's differences, come together as one with God in our hearts and unite. And that would leave me like 4 more minutes to tell my brothers and sisters to focus on self, your physical and your mental and your spiritual health. The 3 go hand in hand, each one affects the other. We must have a basic understanding of this before we can prove to go further. What we take in is what we put out. This goes for the physical and the mental. And if your health is poor in either of these, then it's quite complex to be spiritual. Our body is our temple. That's basic knowledge thereof. Instead, we're humans being hypocrites. We take better care of our cars. I'm riding big, I keeps it clean, only premium fuel for my ride, while he suffered from hypertension like so many of us do. Ignored his own health and he died. Now, despite our own poor physical and mental health, we continue to buy more so we can look better than the next man. Just another way to divide and conquer as the enemy executes his plan. And I would take like 3 minutes to share with my people an American Our Story lesson. The civil rights movement was led by many great men. Their contributions were a blessing. Men like Huey P. Newton, Kwame Ture, Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King. Dr. King, perhaps the most celebrated, a brilliant young orator with a dream. The dream included equal rights for all. Little black boys could play with little white girls. We could go to their schools, live in their hoods. Could you imagine such an ideal world? Through blood, sweat, and tears, Dr. King's dreams would eventually come true. Blacks were free to go to work on the other side of town and spend their money with whom they wanted to. And somehow, while being granted the privilege to shop and work at the big box stores right before our eyes, seemingly overnight, our black businesses in the hood were no more. It would take me less than 2 minutes to sum up where our focus really needs to be. Master yourselves, unify as one, and then circulate our dollars back through our community. Later, Dr. King second-guessed his dream, saying into a burning house we were led. He threatened big businesses with boycotts, spoke of economic empowerment, and then the very next day, he was dead. Today, collectively, we earn more than $1.1 trillion. We are more than athletes and entertainers. We are doctors, lawyers, and scholars. We are descendants of greatness, possessing infinite wisdom and knowledge. Perhaps our strength is in our resilience, but our power lies in our wallets. Other cultures circulate their money with their own at least 7 or 8 times. And 6 hours after we earn it, we go giving the man our dollars, quarters, nickels, and dimes. So we are marching and pleading, sometimes begging, it seems, to a compassionless people that respect nothing but green. And in the final 60 seconds, I would feed my people a few empowering words. Now, all people might be God's people, but we are the ones preferred. We, the people that originally inhabited this place called Earth. We, through the womb of Mother Africa, all humanity was birthed. We developed higher sciences, medicine, mathematical equations. We traveled throughout the entire world and taught them civilization. We are connected to the heavens. Our skin possesses melanin, and through our pineal gland, we are blessed with the unique ability to see with our third eye, yielding greater propensity to overstand. You are great. You are beautiful, the descendants of kings and queens. You have the power to make possible the impossible and to manifest all your dreams. Ye are gods, ye are goddesses. In the Creator's image we are born and bred. If I had the chance to address my brothers and sisters, I would emphatically say what I just said. Power.
It tells you to take care of yourself.
That's right.
It tells you to take care of the larger community. It tells you in there to not let our differences divide us, because that's a trick.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? And one of the biggest tricks when it comes to division, and a lot of people won't like this, is religion. And that's why I threw that in there.
Yes.
Because you know why? We don't really, I don't want to use the word, we don't really with each other like that. We don't. We don't. Because we're going up under these labels or umbrellas that's keeping us divided. Them guys at the mosque are not going to be at the local Baptist church tomorrow.
Right.
And the guys from the local Baptist church are not going to be at the mosque.
But they all claim that they're operating off love and they're all serving God.
The same God.
The same God. I just don't understand it.
It's reasons for us to be apart. Labels, you know, fraternities and sororities, you know, why it just can't be one big fraternity on the yard.
If you research the Willie Lynch letter, he put it in of why we needed to
It's all
be
there.
separate.
Yeah, it's all there. And then we chop it up, you know, and then we chop it up. Then we chop it and screw it, right? So now, okay, it would be okay if everybody wanted to say, okay, we're all Christian or all Baptist. But then that's not even enough division. We still got to come and say, no, I'm AME, I'm CME, I'm this or that or whatever. Let's have more division.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. And I think all that's just the mindset is detrimental.
It is. If you can follow the principle and what it was actually based off of, I think we'll all be okay.
If we looked at it like I was saying earlier, how I write a poem, where are we trying to go?
What is the purpose of it all?
Then maybe we can come up with a way to unify so we can all get there. But I don't even think we know where we trying to go.
I think it's few of us out there that's figuring it out. You know, I really feel like our consciousness is growing as a community. I feel like we are rising to levels with the technology and all the information that's available to us. I feel like a lot of us is grabbing hold. Yeah. And a lot of people look at this coronavirus as one of the worst things ever. But if you really look around, look how the community is growing because of it. Look how many local jokers are popping up, mom and pop shops. You got people just getting really creative with their time, you know, and I'm loving that.
Yeah.
There's some people that's going to fall behind, and they're not going to have that push to grow with us. But hey, you can't take everybody with you. But I do feel like it's a shift that's happening.
Yeah. And the shift is only part of the revolution. People get afraid when they hear the word revolution, but if you think about it, just like the earth revolves, it only means to end up where you started. 360 degrees.
Nothing new under the sun.
360 degrees. So we're the original man. I don't think anybody can debate that. You know, we're the original man. And that's part of that power piece too, right? Is the reminder, that whole last verse is a reminder to our brothers and sisters. We are this, we are that, you are, you know what I'm saying? And I'm reminding you, like, you know,
that's right.
Don't forget, like, our people is thebomb.com. Like, I saw, oh my God, I saw the Ben Carson documentary the other day, man. I have so much more respect for Ben Carson now. Ben Carson, who is the brain surgeon.
Familiar.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't realize everything he was up against. This kid was not born with a silver spoon. He was born to a single parent household where his mother was struggling, cleaning white people houses and stuff like that, trying to support the two brothers, and he had learning disabilities. He was the slowest kid in the class. They picked on him and laughed at him, and they bullied him because they call him dumb in his face, to where he called himself dumb.
That's our society.
You know, it just ripped him down. And at some point, the mother was able to turn that, turn that corner. His mom was illiterate. And born to a literate single mom. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So he had all these poverty, like he had all these things against him, and still he rose, you see? Mm-hmm. And that's what we got to get. We got to get to where we can't let our past or our circumstances be excuses or a crutch. And I hear that a lot. You know, you hear it in the trap music, right? Because they tell you the certain set of circumstances in which they were born or raised that led them to doing what it is they do. Mm-hmm. But we can't have that mindset. You can't let your past dictate your present, especially if you're aware of it. You're aware that I'm this way because of that. Well, even you recognizing that is enough reason why you should be able to turn that corner.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you recognize it.
Yeah. I think a lot of that has to do with living hand to mouth, paycheck to paycheck. Most of us in those situations are living in survival mode. And I think that until we get out of survival mode, we're not able to actually grow our mind, because the only thing we can focus on is give me. I can eat myself. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that's kind of our job, our generation that's coming. It's our job to fix that part right there. You know, we have to show these kids that it is something, because most of them just don't see. Mm-hmm. So Ben Carson was able to make it out of a situation like that with a literate mom, but it's a million kids that won't.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's a million kids that their mom's going to be illiterate, but they're not going to have that drive or whatever changed them. And I think that that's kind of where we come in, and that kind of leads me to my next part about you being an activist in the city. You know, I hear about all of the great things that you guys do. You're in an organization called Band of Brothers.
Yeah. And
you guys go around the city and you do a lot of good. Would you like to speak about that?
Okay, yeah, Band of Brothers, respect, bros. It's 10, 12 of us,
right,
you know, in the community. Most of us are business owners or entrepreneurs or leaders in our own right. Mm-hmm. Now, the Band of Brothers came together, and I think this is our maybe 7th year or something like that. We came together for the purpose of putting on a Juneteenth event in the CSRA. So Juneteenth was before the Band of Brothers. So it was kind of like a call. It happened organically on social media. So somebody was like, hey, we should do a Juneteenth thing or whatever. And then it was the inbox thread, and somebody added me to the group. And, you know, people got added to the group. Mm-hmm. And we started to figure out how we were going to do this Juneteenth celebration. My wife and I had done a Juneteenth thing 2 or 3 years in a row prior. Right. And then that's how we came together as a group, because once we did the Juneteenth thing and we pulled it off, then as bros, we were like, okay, so what now? We just wait till next Juneteenth? So we formed the Band of Brothers and came together, and we go feed the less fortunate initiatives and things like that. We get out in the community when it's not pandemic time. Mm-hmm. We would go into the schools and be present, because a lot of times it's just our presence.
It is.
Strong men. You walk in, 5 black men walking down a school hallway that's not in a police uniform. You know what I'm saying?
Everybody's gonna stop and look.
Right. Yeah, it's powerful. It's powerful. And then to share our stories. That's what you were saying, right? Mm-hmm. It's important. It's important because it gives them, they may be, we've gone into inner city schools and things like that. Me personally, not just a band of brothers, I've gone into these schools and stuff like that, and they got to be able to see. They got to be able to see a different example.
Have to.
Mm-hmm.
Have to.
And somebody, and then even for me, like somebody who's doing it in an unconventional way.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, that's huge.
Because their minds are too big. Their minds are too big right now for their parents or whoever is in front of them to say, hey, you got to go be this kind of job, or you got to get this kind of job, or that right there. These kids, they don't think that way.
No, they don't.
They're not going K through 12 to look at getting some job working for somebody.
$10, like, $10 an hour.
Yeah, they ain't even, that ain't even funky to them. You know what I'm saying? That ain't even, you done lost them already when you start trying to steer them in that direction, because it's so, look at the social media influencers. These kids are having success.
Yeah.
You got millionaire kids because they got a following doing whatever it is.
Doing what they love. Not flipping burgers.
Not flipping burgers. And not even working as a CEO in somebody else's company. You see what I'm saying? We got to change our mindset of what we think is success.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
I do.
I don't care if you are the CEO. Them jokers could fire you tomorrow if the shareholders ain't happy. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You gone. I'd rather be able to control my own destiny. Mm-hmm. And if I didn't succeed, it's because I didn't succeed.
No one to blame but yourself.
And then I can readjust.
That's the way to live life, brother.
Mm-hmm. How many people who have been, successful businessmen and entrepreneurs, how many businesses failed before they got it right? You know what I'm saying?
Failed a bunch of times. I was looking at the story of Walt Disney. Yeah. And the way he got there, he failed a lot of time before he got successful, before he became successful.
Yeah, so we can't give up.
Mm-hmm. It's an unlimited story. Steve Harvey slept in the car.
It goes on and on.
Yeah, it goes on.
Yeah, so that's why. Yeah, there's so many stories to draw from. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we just gotta keep on doing that. Keep on doing what you're doing. Keep this platform. You see what I'm saying? Right. Because it's not about monetary. It's about the message. And when we lose sight of that, we lose sight. You see what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I do.
Because we're now chasing the dollar. And when you chase the dollar, you're going to compromise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you know what sells.
Yeah, once the money becomes the most important thing, then your values will go below that. And you start making decisions based off the money, and never going to end well. Right.
I'm talkative, man. I'm real talkative. I don't know how long this podcast is supposed to be.
Well, Brother Trav, I want to again thank you for joining us, coming down to Studio 125, the local artist highlight. I think you have been my favorite so far.
Oh, man, stop. See, I told you I don't want to be up here. I want to be like everybody else, man.
Well, you want to be humble, but somebody has to pat you on the back, other than your wife, the things that you have done for the city, the work that you have put in, the kind of work, the message that you put out. Somebody has to pat you on the back because you're needed. You're an amazing guy. You and your wife are like the golden couple here in the city.
Oh, and, see, that's pressure.
Yeah, it's not. It's motivation for people like my wife and I. We see you guys, how you move with such grace throughout the city. And we see how you put the shows together, and you guys got the big smiles. And like you say, you're taking the selfies. To couples like us that's up and coming, it's inspiring. It's inspiring. We want to make sure we're living up to a standard because you guys hold yourself to a standard, So the things like that are inspiring to us. So we want to thank you, Brother Trav, for being an artist, for being an activist in the city, for just being an overall great guy.
I appreciate it, brother. Right. Just being me.
Just being you, man.
Just being
keep
me.
Being
and
that.
Fulfilling purpose.
That's right. And keep being an inspiration to people like myself.
Indeed, brother.
Right.
Thanks for the opportunity.
All right. Well, this will be it for the episode of the Local Artist Highlight. I am your host, J.R. King. Again, I have Brother Trav, The GodBrotha.
The GodBrotha.
The GodBrotha. I want you guys to go check out the album. Tell them how to get the album, Brother Trav.
It's available. It's streaming now, so it's all over. It's Brotha Trav. That's BROTHATRAV, The GodBrotha. You can just punch in Brotha Trav. The name of the album is called Black Love Revolution. So you can find it. You can purchase it still on Amazon, but it's streaming now. So it's on YouTube. It's on Spotify, Pandora, Tidal, wherever. It's out there. Very powerful. When we made that album, we wanted you to be able to sit down with your family.
Right.
You listen to it now. We wanted you to be able to sit down with your family the same way families would sit down and watch the Cosby Show back in the day. We want
That's
you to
deep.
be able to sit down, play it with the family, and let it go all the way through.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Black Love Revolution.
Black Love Revolution.
Black Love Revolution. We end up where we started.
360.
360 degrees.
All right. That's going to do it for us. All right, you guys.